Baine binyanim ra'im latzmos. And then he's building his terrible building. He's building, dilapidated spiritual buildings in the end because that's what's going to result from his negative choices. And the scary thing is, and this is mamish the scary thing, is how you can have a blast and have a great time and smile from morning until night because you're having such a fantastic party, even though what you're basically doing is destroying yourself and destroying the world around you. And of course, eventually catches up to somebody at some point in time. God runs the world. There's din. Yesh dain ve'yesh din. Right? There's a judge and there's going to be judgment. We're all accountable. And even though you can get away with it because Bechir demands that. I mean, in the good old days, you made a mistake and you got punished right away. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu was mechanech you. Yisurim, the word Yisurim means suffering, but it's from the word musar to teach, to give over something. So, spoke Lashon Hara, right? You got suras. First on the house, then on the clothing, and eventually the body until a person finally gets the message. Right? Now, basically, you just get problems with your teeth, root canal, things like that, and biting your lip. It's not always so clear, the connection, but in the good old days, when a Kodesh Baruch Hu had we had a stronger connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu, so then the response to our affairs was swift, that we can do the proper thing and make amends. Today, basically, Yisurim happens to all kinds of people. They don't even pick up the message. Moshe's tikkun, just rectification, but not necessarily musar because people don't learn the lesson. And this world that we're living in is just the world for action. Because here, a person was sent to do and to fulfill his purpose. That's why we're here, obviously, right? Aside from all the fun things we're doing on a daily basis. So therefore, a person is constantly in motion in this world. He's constantly doing something. It's not a world where you sit back, we take vacations, we steal a little bit of a olam haba by taking vacations and lying around and not doing very much. But for the most part, a person's always doing something, always in motion, always speaking, always thinking. But we're always doing something in this world because this world is for doing. It's all olam ha'mais. It's a world for accomplishing, for rectifying ourselves and becoming who we're supposed to be. Right? So he says, "Ki raku alzeh notzer adam." That's why man was created. V'alzeh shulech l'mazeh. Right? Shurak ka'olam ha'maisa. V'lechein netuah b'adam netiyas sharshis b'li lios rega echas b'li pu'ula po'el tamid im b'maisa im b'dibur b'machshava. So we're always, no matter what we do, it's part of who we are. We're always going to be involved in doing something towards our shleimus, our completion as individuals in this world. And it's amazing how people just aren't focused on this. Just people don't think about this. Just like living. You're born and you're here to pass the time. You have the best time you can while you're doing it. How many people actually consider the depth, the importance of the purpose of life and how any moment in time a person's life can end? Chas v'shem, a person can die early and totally missed the point. And of course, last week we spoke about Gilgulim, reincarnation, come back another time, hundreds of times before a person finally has finished his tafkid. And if after all of that the person still hasn't got the message, then there's Gehenna, and Gehenna finishes the job. And you don't want to go to Gehenna, because as bad as life is in this world, and Mekubalim said there's two Gehennas. In this world we're living in right now, we try to make it just the opposite, and the real Gehenna, which comes after the year 6000, and if you had a choice between the two, take this one, right? This is the better one in the end. Later on, it's much more severe, like Gehenna, because it's much more intense, the process. Here, because of Bechira, it has to happen in stages, and you have a chance to work with the Kodesh Baruch Hu to bring about rectification, but not get the final Gehenna. The final Gehenna, it's all on autopilot, basically. You're just there to go through the experience of it as part of the cleansing process. So you got to be focused. You got to be thinking, tafki, toelas, what am I doing here? What am I supposed to accomplish? What am I supposed to rectify? And the first and most important thing to know is that whatever you're weak at, spiritual weaknesses are what you're here to do. And your strengths are your assets. And your assets are necessary for working on your weaknesses. You can't just say, well, I'm strong at this is my strength, but that thing, that's my weakness. Everyone's entitled to their weakness. No, everyone's not entitled to the weakness, not in terms of keeping it, not in terms of ignoring it, not in terms of falling prey to it. We're here to use our koiches, the given, the tuning, the things that Hashem gave to us that we already are able to master in order to overcome those things at which we are weak. Otherwise, you have to keep coming back and eventually go to Gehenna to rectify all of it. It's not a pretty picture. Kishamu oilam amanucha. But later on, the point of building all this is for the sake of becoming fulfilled, to accomplish a person's purpose. Kishamu oilam amanucha, because that is where the world of rest exists, the real rest. Ukeshanishlam yemei chayashu yemei puluso asher nigzar alav oilah lemukayim lebinyanov. Right? And when a person finally dies after the age of 120, after all of his gulim, and he no longer has to come back anymore, so then the person will go up and ascend eventually to the building he built for himself. So we literally construct our own portions of the world to come. You got to think about that. It's like a person who wants to build a fancy house in this world. Everything, if you spend money on clothing, spend money, on more trivial things, there's less money you can put into the house, right? And that's important, because if you want to have a mishuchlal house with all the things inside of it, so you have to invest in that house all the time. And likewise, when it comes to the world to come, not just likewise, but even more so when it comes to the world to come, that if you want to have a great portion, and as the Solicitor Sharon points out, a person can't say, well, I don't mind, I'll have a lesser portion as long as I'm having a party in this world. Why not? Let's have a good time now, and whatever I get later on, it's got to be good anyhow. So he says, don't say that because that's the way you feel right now, because you have a body, right? The body, there's not a coincidence the body is called a goof in Hebrew, because basically the body does goofy things. We make goofy choices. We sacrifice important things for temporal things, and that's where it all goes wrong. That's the essence of it, basically, sacrificing the ultimate, the permanent. We'll see with Parashat Tetzaveh. That's the midah of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the opposite, where he was able to overcome the drive for the temporal and invest completely into Olam Haba, to Nitzchias, into eternity, and that's the true source of joy in this world and pleasure, which is why Amalek attacked it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves over here. We'll talk about that next week. But that's the first thing he says over here, that you have to be focused completely on every day working on your tafkid, your to'alas, because that's what you're here to do. So the lesson continues. He says, "V'inyan bibirahu ki nei briyas HaKadosh Baruch Hu es a tov es hara." Right? Kadosh Baruch Hu, he made both the good, the evil. Nothing can exist the source of everything, including the evil itself. Not that he does evil, chas v'shalom, but at least he created the potential for the evil. Right? And he put them as a partnership on everything. An Eitzadas Tovara, right? Not just the Eitzadas Tovara itself, but everything, as Kabbalah explains, today is on the Bechin, on the level of Eitzadas Tovara, meaning it's a combination of both good and bad. Everything can be used for good or evil, depending upon the ratzon of a person, the will of a person, right? Rach b'bechin is koyach levad, but only as a potential, as a koyach, right? It's just the possibility, because the good is a possibility and the evil is a possibility, because Baruch is not doing the good and is not doing the evil. The rock is not doing the good, is not doing the evil. The rock has potential to be used for good, or it can be used for evil, to hurt somebody, God forbid. And that depends upon the person himself. Human beings determine good and evil in terms of the reality of it, because we bring it from potential to actuality. That's the potential of man. It's the koyach of man. But from going from the potential of good or evil to the actuality, the reality is based upon those who have been created, who exist. And that's also the reason why we find that there's also avoda, there's work to be done even by the angels in the upper world,